last week we talked about the water cycle, one of the biochemical cycles. Here's the next one we're going to talk about. This is a biochemical cycle as well. Cycle meaning that it has no beginning, no end. It just keeps cycling in the environment, cycling over and over and over. So we're going to talk about how the nitrogen in our atmosphere and in our bodies and in the soil continue to cycle around. So nitrogen is an essential component for building blocks of life, like our DNA and the proteins that we need to survive. We require it to live and grow, any living organism. The majority of our planet, 78% of it, is nitrogen in the atmosphere. However, the nitrogen in the atmosphere we cannot use, so it has to go through a process. For example, in a fish tank, before you can put any other creatures in there, if you've already got existing ones, you have to get rid of the nitrogen that's building up in the tank, so because it's highly toxic. So a couple of options are to either replace the water or to have plants to help with that process. So here's what happens once you have, even in our environment, not in the water, but in aquatic situations, the ammonia, which is the waste and the food that they don't eat and things like that, that are going to break down. So it turns into ammonia. Then after it turns into ammonia, it turns into nitrite. And then it turns into nitrate. And then at that point, that's where it becomes incredibly toxic. So you either have to change the water or you have to have plants to help with that process. But you still have to change the water eventually. Fish tanks specifically. So what we have is we have fish and food. So it starts out with the food and the fish, and then the waste of those things turn into uneaten matter of food and the feces and things like that that break down into ammonia. Then the ammonia breaks down into nitrite and then nitrate. And then if you have plants or the water's changed, then it helps to convert that into usable water, which doesn't have the buildup of the ammonia and nitrates. So again, here we are looking at the fish and the food. We have carbon dioxide that's released to the atmosphere. We have the ammonia that bacteria helps to break down. We have more bacteria that breaks it down, and then we either remove it or we have plants that take it up and convert it into something that we can use. So we'll see that in a minute. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to take this unavailable nitrogen in the environment that we cannot use, like for us it's in the air, so we can't use it, so we have to break it down. In order to do that, you have to break the bonds that are existing here. That's more chemistry there that if you're not sure, it's okay, we'll still get through this. So we can't use the nitrogen in the air, and so we have to convert it into something we can use. But there is bacteria that can. So nitrogen fixation is where in these plants, legumes, which are beans, they are capable of living on the nodes of plants, and they are the ones who can help take, it's a symbiotic relationship, meaning both of them are having some kind of benefit. But the nodes on the roots of these bean plants are going to help convert the nitrogen so that we can use it. It's called nitrogen fixation. When the plants take it up in the roots and these bacteria on the nodes of these legumes, they will convert them for us. So nitrogen fixation in an aquatic environment has algae that does the same thing. They're nitrogen fixers. Nitrogen fixation, environmental, it breaks down the bonds. Some things of those are naturally occurring, which is lightning, forest fires, and hot lava flows. There are just some ways that it's broken down in our environment through natural events. So nitrogen fixation, again, how? Human impact. We burn fossil fuels, synthetic nitrogen fertilizers, and legumes all fix the nitrogen. This is one way in which we can obtain that nitrogen that's in the air that we cannot use. So here's just a cycle showing you the fixation. Anywhere you see the green is going to be a natural activity. The red is going to be human activity. But you're going to see that we're moving in a cycle. So the atmosphere has the nitrogen we cannot use. It goes into the plants, into those nodes. The bacteria breaks it down for us. We have nitrogen fixers that then continue to convert that ammonia into something that we can use. Then it goes back into the environment. The way we consume it is, if you watch the cycle, animals will take it up and if they eat it, we eat plants, so we get it through plants. We get it through the animals we consume. And there's other ways that it can also go into the soil and be fixed by the bacteria in plants, is to decay. So either the plant dies or the animal dies, and then that's, again, they break down the nitrogen inside the body to be able to be reused. So nothing is ever lost, is the point. Nothing is ever lost in this cycle. It continues to cycle. Everything we have from the beginning will always be there in the end. The way the nitrogen comes down from the atmosphere is by, again, the rain, any type of moisture coming to the earth to put in the soil, that then the plants, the animals consume it, goes the waste, or the roots take it up, turn it in, convert it for something that we can use. It goes back into the atmosphere. Remember, once we consume it, it goes back into the soil because we can't use it. Whatever's in the atmosphere, we can't use. So it has to get to the soil to go into the plants and then be converted for us to be able to use it. Nitrogen mineralization, it's part of the decaying of plants. It's done by decomposers. Again, we're seeing the nitrogen cycle of being absorbed by plants and then turning into something we can use. Nitrogenification, that's all part of what we need to do, is take bacteria, takes it up. So you have, these are the two steps. Bacteria takes it up, turns it into nitrite. And then bacteria takes it up again and turns it into nitrate. And then again, we have the nitrification right here where we're seeing it converted. So it goes back up into the atmosphere and then comes back down, and it goes through the whole cycle again. So we uptake nitrogen once it's converted into something we can use. We take it up in the food we eat, like plants, animals. Those are the ways we do that. And then so it just continues to cycle. Here's another way to look at it, that bacteria do it. They're the reason why we're able to have nitrogen in the atmosphere converted for us to be able to use for our DNA, for our growth and development, because the plants were able to take this nitrogen and recycle it and use it. So thanks to plants, right? We'll talk about human impact later. So we'll just keep moving on. Go ahead and watch this video, take notes.